When allegations first emerged, connecting Lil Baby to gang violence in Atlanta, his initial response was brief and confident. Now very strong evidence has come out in court that could put him in jail for life, and it's a whole different story. They were saying that they believed had heard that Dominique Jones had tickets on a lot of people's heads before Baby and his team react. They need to be sure the feds don't know too much already, so what else do the feds know? Let's find out. From dismissal to defense in February 2025, following a police press conference that implied his involvement in events leading to the deaths of two teenagers, Lil Baby took to Instagram with a succinct message: "Thanks for all the concerns. Please don't be misinformed by fake news. I'm overly good." This casual dismissal reflected the position of someone who didn't appear particularly concerned about the allegations at that point. The accusations were primarily about his music video shoot in May 2024, allegedly sparking gang violence, a connection many viewed as tennis at best. Once again, though, some heavy allegations to put on somebody just because they want to shoot a music video. This feeling was widely shared across social media, with many fans and industry figures questioning how to film a music video. A legal activity could make someone responsible for subsequent violence committed by others. Lil Baby's legal team, led by prominent attorneys Drew Finling and Marissa Goldberg, reinforced this dismissive stance with a more formal statement to the media. They called the police's reference to Lil Baby complete and total nonsense, and vigorously defended their client's right to film in his hometown, to say that he couldn't shoot a music video in his hometown, a place that he loves and has continued to uplift, is disgraceful. Even more, the location for a major music video shoot is a decision made by a professional team and is not a decision made by anyone individual. This initial response strategy centered around three keys arguments. One, the challenging very premise that filming a music video could make someone responsible for subsequent violence. Two, diffusing responsibility by noting that video location decisions involve production teams, not just the artist. Three, emphasizing Lil Baby's positive relationship with Atlanta and commitment to uplifting its community. The strategy appeared effective initially, with many observers viewing the police allegations as overreaching. However, the legal landscape shifted dramatically on April 1, 2025, when Atlanta gang investigator Marissa Vivero took the stand in a courtroom proceeding related to the Goodfellas gang case. During this testimony, Vivero presented wiretap evidence allegedly capturing conversations about tickets or bounties that Lil Baby had placed on people's heads. Okay to have them arrested, harmed, or between Sanders and Lil Baby adds another complex dimension to the case. Previous reports indicated that Sanders allegedly planned to extort Lil Baby for $5 million, suggesting an opponent relationship that could give Sanders motivate to spread damaging claims about the rapper. So just one last question. So who tried to extort Lil Baby allegedly? So supposedly one of the opposing gang members, who's like higher ranking in the gang. He was telling his girlfriend on one of the recorded calls that he planned to recipe, like I mentioned earlier, and part of that was going to be to extort him for $5 million when he came home from prison. I don't know what the extortion would be like, what he was going to try to hang over his head, but that was what they recovered from these phones. And the information, this extortion angle could potentially be crucial to Lil Baby's defense, as it suggests Sanders might have had motivation to falsely implicate him in criminal activities. Another potential defense angle involves questioning Vivero's credibility as a gang expert during the ongoing Young Thug YSL trial. Vivero faced significant criticism and judicial scrutiny for her testimony at this point. Bro, we got to stop using Burrito Vixen as a gang expert or as anybody credible, bro. Have y'all forgotten? The YSL trial, when even the judge got frustrated at Vero because Verito was on that stand, bro, spewing nonsense, dodging questions, being unbelievable. I think he go ahead and explain it now, because the jury's not in here. We're just trying to sort out what I think from my understanding of Mr. Stillwell back in Back in that time he was under the impression that the Donovan Thomas case had been that they were going to beat it. Like they were about to beat it or was beat or there wasn't it wasn't going to be an issue. I didn't want to say that because I didn't want well that's good. That you didn't say that but that's not. The question that he asked this exchange from the YSL trial shows the judge expressing frustration with Vivarito's testimony which could potentially be used to challenge her credibility in interpreting the wiretap evidence and gang terminology in the Lil Baby investigation. While these legal maneuvers may be happening behind the scenes, Lil Baby appears to have taken a more proactive approach to his business affairs. In December 2024, months before these allegations became public, he rebranded his 4PF 4 Pockets full label to Glass Window Entertainment. All right. Also yesterday we talked about Lil Baby and you guys had a lot of questions in the room that I couldn't answer at the time because of what was given via the police press conference. So Fox 5 Atlanta has actually retrieved the arrest warrant. So remember, I told you guys that yesterday in that press conference when they called out the rapper who they say they're going to make sure you know has these consequences because of the part that this person played in what they're now calling this gang war that resulted in multiple deaths. And then there was this arrest warrant that had Dominique Jones's name in it. Dominique Jones's Lil Baby. So that linked him to this conversation. So Fox 5 Atlanta went and retrieved the arrest warrant themselves, and they are now saying that after seeing this arrest warrant they're able to specifically point to the other gang. Yesterday in that press conference the police only named one gang, only my family, but according to this arrest warrant of 4PF, which is 4 Pockets full, of which we know at one time was Baby's label, it was a crew that he was running around with until he changed the name of the label back in 2024 to Glass Window Entertainment. Is also being named as the opposing gang in this rivalry that the police are alleging is going down. This rebranding decision takes on new significance in light of the recent allegations as it created distance between Lil Baby and a name that authorities have now explicitly identified as a gang in legal proceedings. What's clear is that as the allegations have escalated from a provocative music video location to potential murder for hire plots, Lil Baby and his team have transitioned from casual dismissal to what appears to be careful strategic preparation. The silence following the wiretap revelation speaks volume. This is no longer a situation to be brushed off with an Instagram post or press statement. The legal playbook, the legal situation confronting Lil Baby and his attorneys is particularly daunting in the wake of gang investigator Marissa Vivero's short testimony about wiretapped conversations allegedly discussing tickets or bounties placed by the rapper on people's heads. The stakes are clearly high, with commentators noting that authorities appear to be building toward a RICO case. Let's break down exactly what's going on. These are Lil Baby ops, arch nemesis of 4PF, the Goodfellas, and they are currently going through the process of being officially indicted for a RICO. This commentary highlights a critical aspect of Lil Baby's situation. Authorities are already pursuing RICO charges against his alleged rival, the Goodfellas OMF gang, which often signals that similar charges may be coming for the other side of the conflict. Even if the wiretaps are deemed admissible, Lil Baby's team has multiple avenues to challenge their significance. The most obvious is the hearsay nature of the recordings they reportedly capture, others discussing what they believe about Lil Baby rather than direct communications with or from him. They were saying that they believed had heard that Dominique Jones had tickets on a lot of people's head. This distinction is crucial. The wiretaps don't appear to capture Lil Baby ordering hits gold, placing bounties himself, just others discussing rumors or beliefs about his actions. This creates significant space for his defense team to argue that these claims lack credibility or were manufactured by individuals with their own motivations. Another critical aspect of the defense strategy likely involves challenging the prosecution's interpretation of slang terms used in the recordings. The term tickets were characterized by Vivarito as referring to bounties or prices on people's heads. And what, in your experience, do you know what tickets are? A price on somebody's head. What do you mean by a what do you mean on somebody's head? Was that like a bounty in previous cases involving Rappers' defense teams have challenged law enforcement's interpretations of slang or terminologies used in their communities. This approach has seen varying levels of success, but it represents a standard defense tactic in cases involving alleged coded language. Perhaps the most intriguing defense angle involves the complex relationship between Lil Baby and Keontae Sanders, the incarcerated gang member who was on one end of the intercepted calls. As previously reported, Sanders allegedly planned to extort Lil Baby for $5 million, suggesting an adversarial relationship that could give him motivation to spread damaging claims about the rapper. This extortion element creates a potentially powerful narrative for the defense that Sanders and his associates were essentially constructing false narratives about Lil Baby as part of a broader scheme to target him financially. The fact that these conversations happened while Sanders was incarcerated adds another layer to this argument, as someone already serving time might have less to lose by manufacturing stories about others. Another key component of the defense strategy will likely focus on challenging the characterization of 4PF4 Pockets Full as a criminal gang rather than a legitimate record label. This distinction is crucial for RICO purposes, which require establishing an ongoing criminal enterprise in the. While Young Thug has remained incarcerated since his May 2022 arrest, with multiple lease requests denied, his team has succeeded in creating significant procedural hurdles for prosecutors, leading to delays and complications in the case. Another concerning aspect of Lil Baby's situation is the apparent preparation by authorities for a major RICO indictment. According to reports I got, Hoover, who manages the Georgia Public Defenders Council specialized unit in gang cases, so the public defenders who handle the gang cases for gang members who can't have attorneys because they can't afford it, right? The public defender office just said the office is actively preparing for a racket indictment on the for PF and OMF cases, and that he expects Lil Baby to be dictated with others. This preparation by the public defender's office is a significant development, suggesting that indictments may indeed be forthcoming. The fact that official agencies are allocating resources in anticipation of these cases indicates the seriousness with which authorities are pursuing the matter for Lil Baby's team. This preparation period is critical. As one music industry commentator observed, like, why would I give him a warning? Like, why would I let him know? Like, they didn't really officially arrest him, right? Yeah, they haven't him arrested, but I'm telling I'm going. You know, you might be responsible for this and that without actually bringing them in. This commentary highlights an unusual aspect of the case: the public nature of the investigation and the explicit warnings from law enforcement before formal charges have been filed. This could potentially work in Lil Baby's favor by giving his team time to prepare, but it also signals the determination of authorities to pursue the case beyond the courtroom. Lil Baby's team appears to be managing the broader implications of these allegations for his career and business interests beyond the courtroom, unlike his previous encounters with the legal system, including a 2019 arrest for recklessness driving, a 2021 detention in France for drug possession, and a 2024 Las Vegas arrest for carrying a concealed weapon without a permit. Potential RICO charges would represent an existential threat, not just to his career but to his freedom. The personal impact of such charges would be profound. If Lil Baby were to face a fate similar to Young Thug in the ongoing YSL RICO case, he could potentially spend years in pretrial detention, separated from his family and unable to perform or record music. For an artist at the peak of his commercial powers with young children at home, this would be devastating on multiple levels. As one commentator observed about the serious nature of these allegations, there were wiretaps being played, and on one of the wiretaps, somebody mentioned that Lil Baby had tickets, aka a bag of bounty, on some people's heads if they know what the ops did to you. They know what you did to the ops. That's the code of the streets, people, so don't ever celebrate your ops getting a recall. That just means they coming for you. Now, if we look at the receipts for Trevant Turner, the police report when he passed away, if you look at the literal police report, they listed for PF as a criminal street gang which laid claims to the Oakland City neighborhood of Atlanta. This commentary highlights how are authorities building a case, piece by piece, gradually establishing for PF as a criminal gang rather than just a music label. This characterization is crucial for RICO purposes and represents a direct threat to Lil Baby's freedom. The mention of Trevon Turner is significant as his death on June 29, 2024 allegedly at the hands of 4PF associates represents a key link in the chain of events that authorities are constructing according to their timeline. This killing was retaliation for the shooting at Lil Baby's video shoot, which was then followed by the Goodfellas retaliation that killed the two 13-year-old boys. What makes this case particularly complex is that authorities appear to be targeting Lil Baby not just for direct actions but for his role as the alleged leader of 4PF. As one analyst explained, "I hope you rappers are listening. This is such an eye-opener. If, let's say you have a homie, right, and your homie, let's say he comes around, he's repping a squad for PF, but your homie has some side beef and your homie's got homies of himself. If your homie gets killed by, let's say, his ops, and then your homies come back and kill somebody and a gang war ignite, you're now the crime boss even though you have nothing to do with whatever personal beef he has with those people, and his homies are involved. You are now automatically involved because he's in your entourage and you brought him around and he's in the music videos and he's around you and he's begging for PF for the clout. You are now involved, and they're going to include you are a gang leader and say that you are the catalyst for a gang war that had nothing to do with you, and now these people cold man." This commentary highlights the dangerous position Lil Baby occupies as the founder and public face of 4PF, even if he personally hasn't ordered hits or engaged in violence. Under RICO, he could potentially be held responsible for actions committed by others under the 4PF banner. On the challenging side, murder for hire allegations represent a particularly serious category of accusation that could trigger morality clauses in contracts and cause corporate partners to distance themselves. Moreover, if he were to be held without bail like Young Thug, his ability to release music and maintain his public presence would be severely constrained. Several people from the Atlanta music scene has weighed in on the situation, including Whack 100, who defended Lil Baby during a recent podcast appearance. "So I just feel like they attacking everyone in hip-hop as if what they're doing is they're doing it for a negative reason, right? And this situation is sad. It's almost like it would make a dude from Atlanta not even want to live there. Because if you go somewhere to try to do something positive and one of the little idiots, this feeling reflects a view shared by many in the industry that law enforcement may be targeting successful rappers partly because of their visibility and influence rather than based solely on evidence of criminal activity." Other commentators have offered more direct advice about how rappers should navigate these dangers. "Let's just wait till next year to start. You know what I mean, though, but it don't register in their head like that. Folk, they think this what they have to do. They think that if they don't do this, they blades. If they don't do this, they not real street. If they don't do this, they won't be accepted in the hood. If they don't do this, they can never claim FOPF or whatever else again, and then they go to jail and they think going to jail is like a badge of honor because they get out from going to jail and they wear it like it's a god. You feel me, like they did something for real." This analysis cuts to the heart of the cultural contradictions that artists like Lil Baby navigate: the pressure to maintain street credibility while building legitimate business success, expectations from different constituents that often pull in opposite directions, and the potentially devastating consequences of failing to properly balance these competing demands. For clues about how Lil Baby might navigate this uncertain future, we can look to how his team has managed his career and public image to date. Throughout his rise, he has demonstrated an ability to evolve both musically and in terms of his business approach. The transition from street-oriented content to more diverse themes, the expansion into legitimate business ventures, and the rebranding of his label all suggest adaptability that could serve him well in a crisis. If Lil Baby does face formal RICO charges, his team would likely implement a multifaceted strategy encompassing legal, business, and public relations dimensions. Legally, they would vigorously contest the charges while pushing for reasonable lease conditions that would allow him to continue working. From a business perspective, they would likely focus on maintaining key industry relationships, potentially restructuring deals to account for the uncertainty and finding ways to release music even if his movement is restricted for public relationships. They would need to carefully balance maintaining his innocence with respecting the gravity of the situation, particularly the tragic deaths of teenagers that formed the backdrop to these allegations. This balancing act was evident in the statement his legal team released in February, which forcefully rejected the allegations. A consistent theme in discussions about Lil Baby's situation is the contrast between his public image and the allegations he now faces. His 2021 White House visit to discuss criminal justice reform with then Vice President Kamala Harris, his investments in Atlanta businesses, and his philanthropic work creates a counter-narrative to the image of someone orchestrating violence. This duality reflects broader tensions in hip-hop between artistic personas and real-life actions, between community representation and responsibility, and between celebrating success and maintaining connections to one's origins. These tensions are now playing out in Lil Baby's case in potentially life-altering ways. The path forward for Lil Baby remains uncertain, but what's clear is that he and his team are approaching this challenge with more sophistication than his casual Instagram dismissal might initially have suggested. The silence following the wiretap revelations, the proactive business moves, and the reported legal preparations all point to someone fighting strategically for his future rather than simply reacting to events. One music industry observer offered this candid assessment of Lil Baby's options if he is indeed imminent RICO charges. If facing Lil Baby is involved for the snitch losing his life, it's over with. Like Flacco said, it's donezo. I'm talking about singing, you know what I mean. This is bad, bro. This is not good. In the next 90 days, yeah, if I was him, I take my to Africa somewhere. Do your homework on Africa. You going to have to come find me. Cool, I ain't going to lie to you. I can keep rapping in Africa. Do your homework. That I Russia, I'll be in China somewhere with non-extradition. A simple Google search away. While this extreme suggestion of fleeing the country is unlikely to be part of Lil Baby's actual strategy, it underscores the gravity of the situation and the limited options that might be available if formal RICO charges are filed. It's worth noting that at the center of this legal drama are real human tragedies: the death of two 13-year-old boys, Layman Freeman and Jackety Davis, and the injury of an 11-year-old. Whatever the legal outcome for Lil Baby, these children and their families have suffered irreparable losses that cannot be overlooked. In discussions about career implications or legal strategies, the tragic nature of these deaths are emphasized in the police press conference for Lil Baby. Navigating the situation successfully will require not just legal victories but also maintaining this perspective, demonstrating genuine respect for the gravity of the underlying events while asserting his innocence of direct involvement. Another troubling development that could impact Lil Baby's case involves the death of Keontae Davis, who had previously testified against 4PF associate Nathan Benford in another murder case. This morning, Atlanta police say they are investigating a homicide that happened overnight less than a mile away on Lakewood Avenue. Our crew saw police overnight collecting evidence on that scene. We are still working to learn exactly what happened and get more information about this scene. We'll bring you those updates as soon as we get them and give them to you on 11 Alive. The man that was taken to the hospital and succumbed to his injuries. That man was identified by the FDON medical examiner as 27-year-old Kent Davis. Bro, this is power. The timing of Davis's death occurring just as authorities appear to be building toward a RICO case against 4PF raises serious questions that could potentially complicate Lil Baby's legal situation, regardless of whether he had any connection to this incident. During the Georgia Public Defender's Council appears to be preparing for a major RICO indictment. I got Hoover, who manages the Georgia Public Defender's Council specialized unit in gang cases, so the public defenders who handle the gang cases for gang members who can't have attorneys because they can't afford it. Right, the public defender office just said the office is actively preparing for a racket indictment on the 4PF and OMF cases, and that he expects Lil Baby to be dictated with others. This preparation by an official agency strongly suggests that indictments may be imminent, potentially bringing this situation to a critical juncture within the next few months. Some observers have noted that the pattern of targeting successful rappers with RICO cases has become increasingly common, particularly in Atlanta. This commentary reflects a growing concern in the hip-hop community about law enforcement's approach to artists with alleged gang ties, whether the evidence justifies the aggressive targeting or whether other factors like visibility and influence play a role in who gets prosecuted. The coming months will be critical in determining whether Lil Baby faces formal RICO charges and, if so, whether he can maintain his freedom and career in the face of such serious allegations. What's certain is that his response so far, evolving from casual dismissal to strategic preparation, suggests he and his team understand the magnitude of the challenge ahead. Perhaps the most telling sign of how seriously Lil Baby is taking these allegations are the contrast between his initial dismissive Instagram post and the current silence following. The wiretap reveals this evolution, suggests a growing recognition of the potentially life-altering nature of these accusations and the need for a careful, strategic response rather than casual dismissal. One commentator offered this perspective on what Lil Baby might be facing. Squad, I'm talking about everything. Like, okay, shout out to Poetic Flacco, but every time I wake up it's something new and crazy going on. Gang, like the 2025 has been wicked. Let's just start there. You feel me? They saying that these murders are the reason why Lil Baby will be locked up for a RICO indictment in the next 90 days is going down. This assessment that a RICO indictment could be coming within 90 days aligns with other reports about preparations by legal authorities and represents perhaps the most concrete timeline for potential charges against Lil Baby. As this case continues to develop, it will serve as a critical test case for how the music industry handles artists facing serious legal jeopardy, how the legal system approaches cases involving high-profile performers with alleged gang ties, and how individual artists can navigate the treacherous waters where street artistic credibility, expression, and legal liability intersect.